boy Montoya Smith, aka Black Socrates. All I ask is that you think.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Montoya Smith, aka Black Socrates, and welcome to this edition of the Just My 3 Cents Rapid Fire Live Interactive Podcast, where I hope you jump on with me as we try to make things make sense and make it make sense and raise the culture. So every Wednesday night, try to be on point, 8 p.m. every Wednesday night to pull off the Just My 3 Cents podcast, where we have nuanced dialogue on race, sex, and culture. Again, I go by the name Black Socrates. And so I like to philosophize on things that are maybe happening currently in the news, or sometimes just bringing ideas to the table. Basically anything that we can, in a sense, the answer quite often, if you ask the right questions, you can get to the right answers, and often that's nuanced. There's a lot of things that we have concepts about that are people are pretty two-sided on, but the reality is the answer is always in the middle. And so that's what we do every Wednesday night. I try to do various topics where if you go back and look at some of the previous Just My 3 Cents podcasts, hopefully you pick up a little something that you can use in your own life or makes you think, and it can serve your family well. So that's the ultimate goal, again, is that you jump on here. I hope it's not 30 minutes of just me. So hope some people will catch the link. So let me do that real quick. I know the link is on YouTube. Let me go put it up on Facebook real quick. So I'm going to put the link there so people can join me, because the goal is for you to get on this and we talk about the things that you want to talk about as well. So let me add that in the comments. So I just did that. So again, encourage anybody that jumps on to actually join the broadcast with me, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the idea that I, in a sense, promoted for this evening that I wanted to initially discuss. Again, keep in mind, you can come on and dialogue about what I'm talking about, or you can take us in a totally different direction. We just do nuanced conversations on race, sex, and culture. And so where I wanted to start was I had this idea. I ended up having this dialogue with one of my members. Just had an amazing event on Saturday, the Blackout Tour. Shout out to your ATL Tours for the tour that we basically partnered, come up with, and had a party bus experience where we learned Black, shop Black, and ate Black. Dope restaurant that we found. Highland Bistro. So shout out to the amazing event that we had on Saturday. But after the event, my videographer, that's one of my members, we ended up having a deeper dialogue. And I really don't even know how we got into the discussion. But as we were talking about various things, somehow, what happened was we were having a discussion about capitalism. And I was giving them my concept of what a revolutionary capitalist is. I might do just my 3 cents specifically on that. But anyway, eventually after we kind of had a dialogue about how I see capitalism, how he sees it. I'm 48, he's younger. So I remember when I was in my 20s, I was real idealistic about, in a sense, changing the entire system. And now at 48, being a little more realistic, we were just having this dialogue, and eventually moved on from the economics of it, and he just started talking about physical resistance, and in that conversation delved into in a sense, policing of our community. And so somehow, I don't even remember exactly how, but anyway, we bridged into this concept that I shared with him, and it was my feelings about how African Americans specifically should handle police stops, if you will. And so the way I wanted to lead into it, which always happens anytime that I'm preparing for a Saturday show, for those that know about the Mental Dialogue Talk Show, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Saturday we do the Mental Dialogue Talk Show, and now we have this broadcast. And so anytime I'm preparing for a show, something pops up as I'm getting ready. The universe just kind of lays it out there for me to actually bring it to the table. And so again, I was preparing to do this a couple of days ago, and this fell into my lap just this morning. I'm going to share the screen because I want to share a broad interview recently with Sandra Bullock about an upcoming movie, from what I understand, I think called Unforgivable, maybe. I don't know all the details to it, but if you're familiar with Tamika Mallory, she posted this on her IG page, and I think it's absolutely perfect to get into the dialogue I want to get into. Again, it just fell right into my lap. So I'm going to share this video real quick. So just let me bear with me on the share screen. All right. So let me go here. All right. So listen to this cut. I'm also going to read what Tamika Mallory wrote. And again, I think it's a great segue into the discussion I actually want to have. So again, this is Sandra Bullock talking about a movie, The Unforgivable. And I'm assuming this movie relates to why she was talking about this. But anyway, listen to this, and I'm going to read what Tamika has to say.
I have a beautiful black son. It's at the age of 6. He popped on a hoodie, and I was like, we're going to have a conversation. It's different for you than it is. And I said, what does it look like you're doing with the hoodie? And he says, well, I look like I'm hiding. Do you have anything to hide? He said, no. I said, then you don't need to wear it like that outside. I said, people are scared and will react to you differently than if you were a white boy. And he knows it. I let them see everything. I let them hear and know everything, see it all. I don't care if it scares them, because it's my job to let them know that outside of these safe walls that things are different, but they know how safe they are in my house. And it's a scary thing to be a parent in general. It's a scary thing to think that when your beautiful son grows up and becomes a man, someone's not going to treat him the way that you treat him simply because of the color of his skin. It breaks my heart. It makes me full of rage. It makes me afraid. But all I can do is my job, protect them and enlighten them, show them their power, show them how to be safe. But the system is not fair. This whole film is about a system of unfairness. And why don't we make more movies about those who are disenfranchised and aren't born into the luxuries that some of us have been lucky enough by the roll of a dice to have been. I have a beautiful black son.
All right. So here's what Tamika Mallory, again, hopefully most of y'all know Tamika Mallory, amazing queen out there, always on the front lines, if you will. And so this was her response to what you just heard. I'll say this. I truly appreciate her response, and I hope you listen to the nuance in her response, because again, I appreciate this response. So bear with me. I'm going to read this to you, and then I'll delve into my own thoughts from our perspective, if you will. So she says, I truly appreciate what Sandra Bullock is saying here, and I admire her for her love for her son. However, I need my celeb friends who know sis to let her know that the people are scared narrative can be extremely dangerous for young black men. I saw this post last night on the great Viola Davis page, and I sat with it all night. I hate always being the one to pick up on nuance when someone thing is being celebrated, but it is precisely because so many are posting and lifting this clip that I felt the need to highlight the problem. Most people are not scared. They are biased and racist towards black people. The fear, if any, is associated with black men being demonized, which leads back to racism. Sure, we have to teach our boys how to protect themselves, but we also need to protect their mental health. Saying that people are scared gives too much grace to people who are full of hate. It provides a level of understanding for why they may cause harm to black folks. Again, I appreciate Ms. Bullock's intention here. Just thinking a better way to talk to our babies is to let them know that while some may be scared, even that is rooted in racism and hate. That for me will place the blame solely at the feet of those who are culprits and shift the pressure away from black folks. In other words, white folks, talk to your people much more than you talk to your black son. That's using your influence and providing ultimate protection. Just my 2 cents. Now, of course, this is the Just My 3 Cents show. Fell right into my lap. I hope people can appreciate the nuance. I think it's pretty clear. I won't over-explain what I just heard there. Highlight how what I want to focus on is as I listen to her, she puts it back into the space. Oh, I got my man Brother Unc want to jump on this thing with me, so I'm gonna bring him on. Let me stop sharing the screen and bring Brother Unc on here with me as well. Hey, thank you, Brother Unc. Let me get into this little thing where I want to go with it, and then I'm gonna get your thoughts as well.
Yeah, you could say it. God Killer, how you doing, man?
Hi, God Killer. It's all to the good, brother. That's all to the G, brother. My bad. So with that said, So I don't know if you heard everything I just read because I was sharing screen, so I couldn't see you till I came off of sharing screen.
No,
But
I
anyway,
didn't. I just got off.
okay, gotcha. Okay, so let me get this off, and then you can dig in with me. So again, I appreciate that she's putting the onus back in this situation with Sandra Bullock. She says this is being uplifted. I'm not surprised that this is being uplifted across social media, but Tamika points out, hey, put the onus back on and talk to your own people more than your black son. And so I agree with Tamika. That's the conversation that white people should be having with white people in reference to police brutality, if you will, right? Now I want to segue into the conversation I think we should be having with our community. We should be having with our community, within our community, specifically to our black children. So as I said, I was having this dialogue with my member just this past Saturday, and I realized quite often while we talk about this conversation of having to have the talk with our black boys specifically and our black girls too, but we're also having this conversation about having the talk. And I realized in reality, tell me if I'm wrong, and y'all can jump on and tell me whether you agree or disagree. But I realize to a degree, a lot of parents are not having the talk with their black children, if you will, or if they're having the talk, there's something that's getting left out that I learned from this brother years ago, old brother out of Tennessee that I worked with some years ago here in Atlanta. And so they're having to talk about, keep your hand at, what's that? Was it 10 and 2, right? Keep your hands at 10 and 2. Let the officer know that you're reaching for your wallet. All these things that we say you have to have during the talk in reference to, our black children being stopped by cops, and how that has to be handled. Or unfortunately, some quite different. It goes quite differently for other cultures because we know that it's different, and this is the talk that we have to have. Well, here's one thing that I think gets left out of the talk, and it's a simple thing that I posted on this show today. It's the concept of letting our children know that it's okay to be arrested. Now, that sounds a little weird. It's not that I want them to be arrested, especially not that I want them to be arrested for something they did not do or anything like that. But the thing is, even in teaching those concepts, if for whatever reason that officer decides, if that officer decides to go ahead and say, I'm arresting, or if in the dialogue, for example, you're being stopped for no reason, or you're being stopped for something that you did not do. And so naturally your dialogue with the officer is to explain your side of the story, to share that, I didn't do this, officer. The unfortunate reality for our black children quite often with these stops is, while it is normal to react and say, I wasn't doing it, officer, or the officer may have you perturbed based on, stopping you for no reason, while it is human nature, then I think something that we have to absolutely add to this for our children is to tell them it is okay to be arrested. And I know that sounds very simple, but here's why it matters so much for black children. Because what happens is, if you think about any time that you've ever been stopped, especially if you've been stopped for no reason, your human natural reaction is to dialogue with the policeman about that you did not do it. And sometimes you can get perturbed and angry by this. However, based on the cut that we just saw when it comes to, the cut that we just saw with Sandra Bullock, we know that unfortunately those moments can sometimes turn bad. And so unfortunately, here's a reality for our black children is that we have to prepare them, although the officer is trained and should be the one to de-escalate the situation. It is very unfortunate that even if you're being stopped or detained by the police, even for something that you should not do, it is very unfortunate that we, in a sense, have to train our children to, in a sense, de-escalate the situation by understanding that if I have a son or daughter, that ultimately I'd much rather them call me from a jail cell arrested for no reason and go back into court and fight the situation than them to have court on the side of the street or in a car with a police officer who unfortunately does not always know the law when it comes to whatever they may be stopping you for. They have a brief knowledge as far as how to enforce the law and what to stop you for, and sometimes they can act inappropriately. and I see all these dialogues. I won't get Brother God Killer on this thing with me. I see these videos quite often on social media where we're highlighting when somebody has been able to, in a sense, outdupe the officer in the middle of a police stop because they have a very good knowledge of the law. An African American that might have a good knowledge of the law, and so because they know the law, sometimes they're dialoguing with the police officer and talking down on the officer because the officer may not know all the facts about the law. And so we applaud these videos. I've always looked at those videos like, that officer is human. If you take that too far, his ego with that gun on his side can trump your knowledge of the law. And so I've never been a fan of parroting, of pushing these videos of, like, you're supposed to know the law to go in court and fight, not to fight the officer. And I'm not saying accept every arrest, no matter what the officer is saying. But if you see that the officer is escalating due to ego or having an incorrect knowledge of law, our children should know we want them to call us from the jail cell versus what the call might be. I want to hear Brother Unk's thoughts on that as well. Go ahead, King.
Yeah, how you doing, brother? Appreciate you for sliding me through, man. Yeah, you keep up with the complex, intelligent conversations, man, and I appreciate that. And so there's expectation and there's reality. So the expectation is that police are supposed to protect and serve, just like the fire department. Like you during the civil rights movement, you never expected the police department to release German shepherds on you. You never expected the fire department to spray you down with hoses. Like generally speaking, the American public, we do not expect that out of the police or the fire department. Now, here's reality. The reality is that's a human being with a gun and a shared history with Black people, specifically.
Hey, we lost you for a second, King. You just muted yourself by accident, I believe. Can you hear me? All right, I'm going to keep talking till maybe he gets back on. You muted yourself. Let me see if I can unmute you. Yep, you might have muted yourself by accident. All right. And so definitely want to hear Brother Unk's thoughts on it. Again, this is a rapid fire. We're only doing about 30, 35 minutes. So if you want to jump on with us and give us your thoughts, for whatever reason, we lost Brother Unk. So hopefully he'll get back in this thing. And so also, that's not all I want to talk about tonight, but I just wanted to share, and I want people to hear, if you understand nuance, the information that I just gave to add to, we got Brother Unk back on. Let me get him back in this thing. Let him finish. Yeah, you lost me for a second, King. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah. Can you hear me when I told you?
Yeah, you're coming through clear.
You hear me clearly?
Yep.
You hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, brother. Go ahead and finish what
I
you were
can't
saying.
even hear you. Okay, so I was talking about that there's a certain expectation that we have as American citizens, but there's a reality. We have a history with Europeans, and it's a very, very intricate, delicate, and complex situation, right? You have all these forces at play. At the academy, they tell the police officers to go home. Make sure you make it home to your family, because that's first. Okay, you got that. You got the human factor. All human beings want to make it home to their family, right? You got the it's a bad day factor. Okay, it's a good day factor. You might be having a bad day. You might just be I'm tired of that nonsense, right? You might have watched some video and you hyped up, like you just said, one of them crazy videos that tell you to spit the law out, right? That's ridiculous. We know that, right? So then how do we handle this? Well, my thing is, I tell my children, you want to make it home too. That we have bail money for you. Okay, like if you're not doing anything illegal, then why the bullshit? Right? Follow orders, follow what the police is saying, right? If you feel like you're in a safe situation somewhere, you know what I mean? You do what you're supposed to do, you follow instruction, you don't gotta ask them a whole lot of questions, because at the end of the day, like the police told me, look, man, I'm not the daggone, I'm not the judge. Talk to the judge. Right? So that's why those videos are corny, because really he's not the judge. He's just there to enforce the law, to lock you up. Right? Okay. Or help you. Right? So the real truth is, right, it's okay to be locked up.
Right.
And I know it sounds crazy, Montoya,
Yes,
but it's
that's the point.
okay to go down to the police station, get booked in, right? Get bailed out, or get released your own recognizance and live to play another day. That is okay. Dealing with another human being with a gun, right? Talking crazy absolutely makes no sense. So if a person was trying to rob you, you wouldn't talk crazy to him. Why? Because he has an up on you, he has a gun. It's a fundamental understanding that a person with a gun has the up on you. Not to mention if they're a police officer. Like I said, we expect police officers to do certain things,
Correct.
but expecting something and something happening is two different things. Watch this, generally speaking, right, most police officers aren't even like that. It's just a social media thing that shows those events, right?
Right.
And they show these events skewed.
Right.
And under no circumstances am I on the side of white people. You know, they say that, right? But I'm saying there's other videos that show you the whole video, and you're like, man, that was crazy. Instead of going through all that, right? I teach my kids, look, pay attention, right? Respect authority, whether they white or black. That's important, right? And just get locked up. Now watch this, Montoya. Suppose you got a disrespectful police,
Right.
right? Because police can get like that.
Correct.
Then what do you do? Because we're not boys, we're not girls, and so you calmly speak to the police officer, right? I'm like, why are you talking to me like that, officer? If he's still hyped, be like, I'm good. Just do what you're gonna do, lock me up. And it's always about getting back to your family, because all the black people that died, right? If they had that second chance to make that decision, right? And under no circumstances am I saying that George Floyd was wrong. I'm just simply saying, George, you was already sitting in the police car. Just put your damn feet in there, let him close the door. That doesn't mean that George's supposed to lose his life, bro. It doesn't mean, under no circumstance,
right,
are you supposed to lose your life. One, because you're running from the police. He shouldn't shoot you in the back. Two, because you got smart with him, right? Three, because you might be tussling with 5, 6 police officers in handcuffs. You're still not supposed to lose your life, because we expect more out of them than that, bro.
Absolutely.
See, we understand that. We're simply saying that the value that you have in your own life is more important than you cussing out a white boy. Like you gotta have more confidence and more value to yourself to know that this police officer is wrong and I'm gonna get him. Now the circumstances change when you're a criminal, right?
Yeah.
We know what a criminal is.
Right.
I was a criminal, and watch this. Being a criminal, I would never run from police. First of all, I'm supposed to be smart enough not to put myself in a situation where I gotta run from the police. And if he caught me red-handed, I'm fine. And they better have that shit right, because I got some excellent, high-powered lawyers on my side that can beat the charge for me. So I'm not, please lock me up. I will be bailed out before you wake up in the morning. So it's always about going home to your family, bro. And that's really what you're saying. See, they'll try to take what you're saying, Montoya, and twist it all up.
They'll take it that I'm putting blame or the onus on us. Whereas if you understood what I was saying with Tamika Mallory, I like the nuance that she gave, whereas everybody right now might be bigging up Sandra Bullock for what she said, but Tamika pointed out the nuance of saying, hey, white people talk to your people. And I'm saying the real dialogue that has to happen with us as black people has to be the training for our children. And one piece of note that gets left out of the talk is also tell your children it's okay to be arrested, so that they don't take the moment. Because here's the reality for most of our children. The reality for most of our children, unfortunately, is...
Yeah, why is your thing speaking slow like that, Montoya?
I don't know what's going on with it, brother, but I got DeAsia gonna jump in too, so just bear with me, brother. I'll mute you for a second and get everybody on here real quick. So the thing I just wanted to kind of say, and I want to move on, is that ultimately this is the training that's best for your children. So add that context, because if you've never been stopped by a cop or you've never had to talk, your mindset goes to, I didn't do it. And in I don't do it, your natural reaction sometimes can create a situation. It's not about making it our children's fault or making it your fault. It's if you don't give your child that training, and as an adult, if that's the first time they've ever been stopped, the reaction is too risky for us as black people. That's a reality. Let me get DeAsia's thoughts on this. Thank you, Queen, for jumping on this thing with me.
Oh, no problem. Hey, Montoya. I'm very glad that you had this show, because at first when you was talking about it, I was just like, when I first seen it, I was like, oh my God, what is he finna talk about? Talking about it's okay to be arrested. But it makes a whole lot of sense, because I always cringe when I see those videos of people trying to have court on the street. Um it's you have those cases where, you know, a lot of times the police, you know, they handle it in a way where everybody gets to, they end up sometimes still end up getting locked up or whatever. Don't nobody get shot or anything like that. But you stand the risk of losing your life, of sitting up here arguing with somebody that has a gun, like
But
said, like, why would you? It's no way in the world that I'm going to sit and go back and forth with a police officer, whether I feel like I'm right or not. Let me have my day in court. And what's unfortunate is that a lot of people who, you know, have encountered the police, a lot of them didn't make it home. They never did get to have their day in court, because they tried to have court on the streets. And it's not to justify anything that these police do, because a lot of them are crooked, and a lot of them are trigger happy and gonna pull the trigger regardless. So I hope no one is taking what anybody has said on here is that you're trying to side with the police or anything. It's just making the best decision for you to be able to make it home safe to your family, or just have your day in court. And then sometimes when the people be doing all their arguing and stuff with the police, if they calm down and they actually just let the police ask them the questions and stuff like that, they probably end up letting them go.
In some cases, and to a degree, as lawyers tell us, you know, it's only a few, you know, if you're really going to teach your child to talk, then there's only a few things you really should answer as well. But in that moment, it's not that easy to remember. I was a legal studies major, and I've struggled with those moments with the cops. I've even been falsely arrested before. And when I'm into about completely falsely arrested, and it ain't me just saying it. I got stopped for a DUI, went to the station and blew 000. And I ain't got time to give you the details on it. But at the point that I realized that this officer wasn't going to take my dialogue for this is definitely not what it is, that's when I chilled out. And luckily, I didn't know it was going to happen at the time. But once I blew 000, his commanding officer blew him out for like, how you even brought this dude in here? I've been doing this 25 years. I've only seen 2 people blow 000 and blessed them out. Now, he didn't come out of there saying it to me. I just happened to hear it, and I ended up letting go at that moment. I still end up having to pay for an impound. I still lost a couple of days of money for work, and that's a reality. But at that point that I realized there was no dialogue that was going to get me out of that situation, I just shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's best that you do that, because I've encountered the police where it was like he was a straight asshole, and he was a black guy. He was a straight asshole, and I was drinking and driving and everything. And if I would have said too much, I know, because he was like probing me and he was being an asshole, and I know if I would have said too much and if I would have gave him too much, he would have locked my ass up. And I have a DUI on my record right now because I was at the limit where he could have.
Oh, wow. Now, but it's just again, the goal with this show is to raise the culture. So the concept is to bring up an idea, and hopefully people hear it. Not about blame placing; it's about what's best to raise the culture. Add that to the conversation. Most of us have never heard in our lifetime that it's okay to be arrested. And again, I got this from an old man, and his heartache with us is an old brother out of Tennessee. His heartache was, he was like, it bothers me that our people, that's what he said to me. He said, it bothers me that our people treat arrest like it's a conviction. We act out like that moment is the conviction or whatever, because we don't understand that it's simple. Even this, if they say, put your hands behind your back, not giving the hand to the officer and resisting just a little bit, that is actually legally resisting arrest. And so if you get that a-hole that wants to now hurt you because you didn't just give your hand, that's crazy, because we're like, I didn't do nothing. So we're like, the officer's in the wrong. But legally, because you resisted, sometimes you end up getting arrested for resisting arrest and you hadn't even done nothing.
Right. you know, the best thing, I know a lot of people will say, well, if you comply and you do this, then you still might get killed. But you have a better chance of living if you comply.
Yep, that's reality. I got God Killer back on this thing, man. So thank you, Deja. You know, I'm at the 30-minute mark, so I'm gonna go about 5 more minutes, get his last thoughts. I wanted to jump into something that he and I talked about on the show. So, well, matter of fact, you was on the show with us Saturday, so I'm gonna keep you on for this. I'm gonna real quick, y'all. We're gonna do a 180 here and just bring this up real briefly because I wanted to bring this thought and just get y'all thoughts on Saturday. Remember, we were talking about who were we before enslavement and does it matter? Here's something that I wanted to bring up on last Saturday show, and I just wanted to touch on it real quick here, so I'll get both of your thoughts and I'll close the show out. We were talking about the importance of history, and we all kind of agreed on Saturday show that history was important. We had different viewpoints on it or whatever, but there was this one concept that I wanted to share, because here's the thing that got said on Saturday show, that we all admitted that during our 12 years of primary education, we're not going to be shown much Black history, whether it's our history in America and definitely none of our history prior to coming to America. And so I wanted to point out, because I've got to bring this up, that I do an after-school program, and I wanted to say, here's the importance of our parents supplementing our 12 years of school with history, because our children need to see themselves with the correct understanding of themselves. And here's the example. I don't know if this is going to feel like it fully relates, but I'll see what y'all think. But I remember having this kid a couple years ago in our after-school program, and he ran up to me. We give him little books to read after they finished eating on their snacks. And he came up to me on a Marvel comic, and Green Lantern was Black. And the little Black kid comes up to me, he goes, hey, he's supposed to be white. He's supposed to be white. This is a kindergartner. And so I explained to him that, obviously that's absolutely okay, but I never forgot that moment, because when I think about the DAW test, if you remember the school or board of education, the DAW test was done about 10 years ago, and there were still bad results even 10 years ago for Black kids. And so that came right to my mind when I saw this kid do this. And I also have a lot of Black kids who never paint themselves as brown or Black when they're painting themselves. And so the psychological inferiority starts so young that it becomes imperative that we know our history, and that's the importance of it. Give me your thoughts, Deja, and I want to get God Killer's thoughts on it, then we're going to close the show out.
You know what? I actually don't think that's a case of psychological inferiority. I think that's more so of a case of he's used to watching the comics or watching, like seeing it and used to seeing those characters being white. I don't think that will be considered an inferiority complex or anything.
No, fair enough on the thought. But like I said, I highlight, unfortunately, a lot of those same kids. They literally won't paint themselves that way. If so they paint themselves as white. So that's another aspect that I unfortunately see within our culture as well, dealing with the children.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I want to get your thoughts on it real quick, and then we all got to close this show out. We try to keep them at 35 minutes, brother. Brother, you live?
Mute me out. Yeah, I'm right here. You can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, brother.
Yeah, you were saying on an inferiority complex or what?
I was just mentioning that one thing I didn't get to bring up was that situation where the child said, "Hey, the Green Lantern is supposed to be white." And so for me, I didn't, I'm not going as depth as I want to go with it, but I was just highlighting that unfortunately our children rarely see enough heroes, whether it's in comic books or definitely not in history. And it's part of the reason, as a culture, for example, that we lost, I'll say this, lost our minds over Black Panthers, that even as adults, we're starving to see ourselves as heroes because we're never shown enough of ourselves in history, in my opinion, to know of our heroes. So that's why a Black Panther we made it the biggest selling movie of all time. Now, it wasn't just us to make it the biggest. Everybody went and saw it, but we definitely jumped out and saw that one. And I think it's due partly to not seeing enough of ourselves in history. Your thoughts on that, and then I got to get out of here, King.
Yeah, we actually we intertwine the inferiority complex in our children. So, I think you said it best. The very, and I know how you feel about this though, but the very social structures and cultural systems, religious practices we do, actually show our true inferiority complex. And what I'm saying is, you think that what you have now, right, is more superior than what you had before they came and got you. It's obvious, right? Because you think that the system that was brought to you is far more superior, and the system that you came from is inferior. Once you learn about what you had prior to, then you will realize it's just a cultural religious system. So once again, you spot on again, the whole spending all the money on the Black Panther, looking for the hero. That's because watch this, we don't take the time out to formulate these Saturday schools or to have these platforms with real authentic history, right? So like we talked about on the show, make sure y'all tune into the show on Saturdays, right, 10 o'clock, yo. It's the dopest show on Blog Talk.
Thank you,
Simple as that. It's the most intelligent conversation, right? And we talked about having an inferior complex, didn't mention, but we talked about overshooting the mark. That's also part of having an inferiority complex.
Yeah.
So you really overshoot the mark and supporting the Marvel comics, yet the money ain't coming back to the black community. You did all that, right, for to have a hero you were starving for it. So that proves that you really had an inferiority complex. I just wanted to, I'll tie it up right there.
Now, thank you very much. Thank you for keeping it short because we are at the end. As I always do, I share a piece from my upcoming book, Just My 3 Cents, the same name of this show. Anybody, you can hit that link and you can jump on like God Killer, my queen Jessica DeAsia did. So I appreciate both of you. Great wrap up, man. Great for jumping on this thing. We just hitting this stuff quick, just trying to give you a little seed that you can take and think about it, let it grow in your head and maybe use it and raise the culture within your family structure and those that you know and help your children out. As I said, teach them it's okay to be arrested. It's okay to be arrested, and make sure you are intentional about sharing their history. And I'm going to tie this together with something that I had a psychologist come on my show when we talked about what should parents be teaching their children. I had a psychologist come on, and she said, I thought she was going to give out this list of things that people should do from a psychological standpoint to better prepare our children for police stops. And she literally said the number one thing that parents can do is make sure their children know who they are and know themselves. And she was actually referring to having seen themselves in history so they have the proper amount of self-esteem, race esteem, because she said those who value their lives make smarter decisions when they're in a situation that might be dangerous than those who have fear. And so if you value your life, you will handle whatever police stop comes your way probably a lot better than those who are living off the fear of social media and what we're seeing out here with these situations. I had to say, and I think that ties up tonight perfectly. So with that said, I'm gonna share a quick piece, and I'm out this thing from my upcoming book called Just My 3 Cents: Necessary Conversations on Race, Sex, and Culture. This piece is called Black Socrates Speaks, the best analogy ever about police brutality. The best analogy ever about police brutality. I've been going back and forth recently about the effectiveness. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. I've been going back and forth recently about the effectiveness of the Black Lives Matter movement. And if you're like me, you're exasperated with having to explain what this issue is. Everyone wants to offer remedies for everything but the root cause. It's like having a cough, i.e., police brutality. But people are more upset if you don't cover your mouth, i.e., protests and riots when you cough. The focus becomes how rude is it not to cover your mouth, and they will refuse to give you any cough syrup until you do so. They act as if covering your mouth will fix the cough. Then there's black on black crime. It's the equivalent of having a headache at the same time as the cough. So again, when you ask for some cough medicine, i.e. stopping police brutality, they will reply, is it your headache worse? i.e. black on black crime. You're thinking, but I asked you for some cough syrup. They will then explain, they don't have anything for your headache, but you should definitely they don't have anything for your headache, but you should definitely deal with the headache before the cough. But of course, this is only after they've said you probably got the cough because you didn't wear a coat outside. So basically, it's your own fault. Keep in mind, they already have the cough medicine because they have a cough too. And more than likely, you got your cough from them. Not only are you left to deal with the headache on your own, but they're still upset over you intentionally coughing in their face for them refusing to give up the cough medicine in the first place. Hope you get a chance to dialogue and dig into that to really understand the nuance of what you just heard. Thank y'all for joining in on the Just My 3 Cents podcast. If you heard something here that you like, please make sure you share this. And with that said, I'm gone. All I ask is that you think. I hope tonight we made it make sense.